Good afternoon. Thanks for everyone's patience. And we are live with today's coffee chat brought to you by Starboard Consulting. Today's topic is going to be Maximo Work Centers with a focus on inventories. We are so excited to have two fantastic presenters. So Amy Tatum is Vice President of Starboard Consulting. And Amy, we are so happy you're able to pinch hit for one of our other presenters who got literally snowed in.
All right, thanks, Alex. It's good to be here, and I'm glad scheduling worked out that I was able to. I'm sure Lonnie would have done a great job and probably would rather be on this webinar than home dealing with frozen temperatures and pipes and lack of power and everything else that so many of our friends and community in the Texas region are dealing with right now. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As Alex said, we're going to talk about inventory work centers. So I am Amy Tatum with Starboard Consulting, and Starboard is a IBM business partner and Maximo implementer. We've been implementing Maximo as Starboard for about 14 years now. Many of us have been involved in the Maximo community for 20 plus. And as a company, we provide all sorts of Maximo services, implementations, upgrades, integrations, training, data migrations, you name it. If it involves Maximo, we probably have the capability on staff to deal with it. Work centers are one of the newer features of Maximo. They rolled out in one of the 7.603-ish releases, I think, and huge area of investment for IBM, and we see lots of new changes and exciting things coming with those. So we're taking a little bit of time in our first quarter 2021 chat series to look at the work centers in some detail. And we're alternating a technical focus with a business focus. So last time around, we looked at work center security and how to set that up from an administrative perspective. This time around, we're going to dive into the inventory work centers. 2 weeks from now, we'll reconvene in March 2nd with another technical session looking at the MMI work center. And then again, on the business side, looking at the administration work center. So with me today, I have Thomas Knowles from IBM. So Thomas, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate your time today. Why don't you take a quick minute and introduce yourself to the audience here?
Sure. My name is Thomas Knowles. I am a product manager and architect for IBM. I've been in this role since 2006, the end of 2006, beginning of 2007. I'm currently responsible for a number of different areas in Maximo, inventory being one of them. And I was one of the lead designers for this new Managed Inventory Work Center, which I'm happy to share with you today.
Fantastic. Thank you. Alex, before we jump in, I think we had a poll we wanted to ask our users. So you want to run that for us?
Yes, thanks, Amy. So if everyone can look in their chat box, you should see a poll. We'd love to hear from you, just if you've used the Inventory Work Center or not. Looks like quite a few, looks like a little bit half and half as we see results. We'll give you just another minute. Thanks. Well, it looks like maybe about 70–80% have not used the work centers before. So this will be a great chance to learn some tips and tricks. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, but you are welcome to go ahead and type any questions or your response into the chat box if you didn't get a chance to participate in the poll. Thanks,
Okay.
Amy.
Thank you. So looking at the poll results, it does look like we have many more no's than yeses, which is not terribly surprising because the inventory work centers are one of the newer releases. So I know a lot of folks haven't really had time to delve into those and see what's involved in releases out to their users. So let's talk a little bit about that, Thomas. With these being new, what's the target user and what are some of the things that the inventory work centers are capable of?
Sure. So as you guys probably know, because you have this series of work centers in general, but with the work centers, what we're trying to do is really simplify the user experience. And with this Managed Inventory Work Center, we're kind of targeting the storeroom clerk as a user. As you know, the storeroom clerk is a heavy Maximo user role that's responsible for receiving materials into inventory, managing those materials while they're in the store, and then issuing the materials from the store to workers that are either commissioning, maintaining, or repairing critical assets for the business. So that user is mostly mobile. They spend their day walking around the storeroom, finding and moving materials. The job does require some physical labor. So they're often jumping from, the system or Maximo to some physical task. And then one of the goals that we were really striving for to achieve with this particular work center was to simplify that user's experience in Maximo. So we wanted to bring all of their, common tasks into a simple UI that could be used on a connected device. And with this iteration, we don't have every single task that yet that user does, but we have some of the most common, like picking and staging, issuing reservations, cycle counting, and during these processes, because the work center itself is geared towards a mobile tablet, we can take advantage of some of the built-in features of that device, like the built-in camera to do barcode scanning and some other things.
Okay, fantastic. Yep. Yeah, it'd be probably a lot to try to pull in everything out of the various inventory applications. I'm thinking inventory usage, inventory, item master, things like that. But this does definitely hit the 80-90% of the day-to-day transactional activity. I think that storeroom clerk is involved in. So that's great. We've got a short session today, so I know there's a lot to drill into, but let's just pick a couple of those, the ones maybe highlighted in red. And can you give us maybe a quick demo or show us a little bit more about how a storeroom clerk might pick and stage materials from the inventory?
Sure. Let me just share my screen, and we'll start with the picking and staging. So I'm just on a local VM here. This is my local demo and development VM. I'm going to open the Work Center login screen, and I'm going to log in as my storeroom clerk user, which is Fred. By the way, if you're familiar with the demo data, there is a demo user, Fred, that will have access to this Manage Inventory Work Center. So when that user logs in, they land directly into the Manage Inventory Work Center, and the first thing that they land on is this reservations page. You can see that there are 3 different options. There's really 3 different menu options for Manage Inventory. Reservations being the top, because we think this is the majority, this is the focus of that user's work as they log into the system. So the majority of the things that they do will be presented to them in this reservations page. In addition, we have storeroom and then all items, and I'll kind of go through some of these as we talk about each of these specific items.
Okay.
One of the things I want to concentrate on now is the picking and staging. This is a new feature that came out with 7612, and what it allows the user to do is create a pick list to manage the items that they need, or the reservations that they need to pick and distribute to the technicians, so they can go out and collect these things and go out and do their work. What we can do to create, I'll show you how to create a quick pick list. But as I mentioned before, I land in my reservations, and here I have 6 reservations. These reservations are materials that have been approved on 2 different work orders. You can see the work order 1345 and 1346, and there are several items on each of those work orders. In order to create a pick list, I can grab whichever items. I can do that by sorting and selecting or picking each one. In this case, I'm just going to select all of them by clicking on our little checkbox to the left. It's going to pull up this multi-select action menu, where I can do a couple things when I have all those things selected. In this case, I'm going to create my pick. So I'm creating my pick list. You can see there's just some simple information that comes up. I just need to put in a description. It adds the required date, gives me the storeroom it's for, and the number of lines in that particular pick list. So once I create my pick list, it's going to automatically take me over to that pick list. And you can see in the pick list, I have a series of tabs. The first tab is the Open tab. And you can see that open tab contains the 6 items that I picked from the reservations earlier. It also shows a pick tab, a stage tab, an issue tab, and a review tab. And really, what this allows me to do is, now that I have my pick list, I can now take that pick list and this, this on my device with me, go to my warehouse and start picking those items off the shelf. And a pick is really just taking the item off the shelf and putting it on the cart. After I pick that item and put it on the cart, then I can take that cart and actually stage it somewhere for the technician to come and pick up later. And then once the technician comes to pick them up from the staging area, I can issue those things. And I can do all those actions right here in my pick list. Just to give you an idea, I'm going to just grab this first item off the list, and I can either multi-select again and select them all at the same time, or I can do one at a time by selecting the 3-dot menu over here and choose what to do with it. Now, it's important to understand that I don't necessarily, it's not a requirement for me to do pick, stage, and issue. Those are optional things that you can do with a pick list. You don't have to go in that particular flow, but we think that's a logical flow that most storeroom clerks would take as they're going in and picking their items. So just to share a little bit on how this works, if I click on one of these items, say I want to pick that particular item, I'm going to pick it. I'm going to get this, what we call a smart dialog, which asks me, verifies, it automatically selects the 2 from bin B because that's the quantity I have of those particular items. And then just to move it from open to pick, I can just click on this pick button. And you can see it updated the quantity picked and our little toast at the top. And then you can see the other thing it changed was it changed my open items from 5 and my from 6 to 5, and then my picked from 0 to 1. And then you can also see the quantities over here where I have one item picked, right, of quantity 2. It's picked, and then the other items are open. So, it's the other thing just to mention is I don't have to pick all these items at the same time, even though these are the same, these are part of the same work order. If I needed to, I could pick one item and then stage the other one, right? So this would move it to a staging bin instead of a pick. And if I wanted to, I could even directly issue this item. Again, these are all materials that are on the same work order. They're reserved under the same inventory usage document, but I can, with this picking and staging application, I can move those materials into different stages as part of my pick list process. So the last thing I just want to quickly show is you can see this tracks, these tabs track what I've done, basically. I have 3 open. I've got 1 picked, 1 staged, 1 issued. And if I look at review, it shows me all the transactions that have happened against that pick list.
Okay.
And the other thing I can do is from issue, if I wanted to return it, I could also do a return directly in this issue using this return button. So as I progress my pick list through, once I pick all the items, the status automatically changes to complete from picked. And you can see, a list of my pick lists in this particular view under picking and staging. So lots of functionalities and features. I just wanted to give you a quick introduction of those features and how they worked. So I hope that you guys can go out and have a look at them on your own at some point.
All right, thanks. That's fantastic. There's a lot there, and it looks like just looking at the screen, I've got some filter capability there. So if I'm picking for a specific work order, I can narrow down based on that.
Yes.
Do I have the ability to create staging locations? So if I am picking for multiple crews, maybe that come into certain bays of my warehouse and pick up in the morning, do I?
Yeah, it's just like it takes on Yes, it takes the same functionality from Core Maximo, where
Okay,
you can specify a staging bin. That's one of the things that popped up in that dialog when I clicked on to stage this particular item. Although I breezed through it really fast, so you probably didn't see it. But yes, you can do that. Yep.
Okay. Well, cool. That's great and definitely useful functionality to have. So let's move on and look at the physical counts. So that's another area that we would see clients using quite a bit. So how is that going to work within this application?
Yeah, I'll show you that. So if I move down to this second menu option, which is storerooms, from my reservation, you can see that Fred has presented a list of storerooms that he has access to, and it shows you kind of a card with how many items are in each storeroom. I'm going to click here on my central storeroom, which has 142 items. And initially, it's going to give me the balance for all those items that I have. So this is a quick way to look at, all the items, what your quantity on hand is, what's reserved, what's staged, what's expired. But one thing that is really interesting here and is different for the Managed Inventory UI is we have this counts page. And what this allows you to do is for the central storeroom, it allows you to do a physical count or a cycle count. And you can see when I click on that counts tab, I'm presented with a list of items. It's the sort order by default for this count page is based on the count due. This count due is a calculation of the date when the cycle count is next needed for this particular item. You can see this is old demo data. So this is saying that I haven't counted this item since 1995, just because we have a bunch of old demo data in here.
I've been in some warehouses that I don't think have been counted since 1995.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. So this is something that you can do with a physical count adjustment in Classic or Core Maximo today, but it's very click heavy, right? So what we wanted to do in this UI, again, is make it simpler for that user to go and do those cycle counts. So they can go and do their cycle counts. You can sort these things, as you kind of mentioned earlier. Amy, you can do multi-sorts. So right now it's sorted by count due, but I could have count due plus bin, right? You can see this little number 1 and 2. So I'm able to sort by multiple columns, which is something that you can't typically do in Core Maximo unless this feature is enabled.
That's a great feature.
Yeah, so this will allow you to, sort the way you need to. That's most efficient for you to go through and do your cycle counts within your inventory. It's a very easy process to do the cycle counts. If I look at, let me just do some real quick here. If I want to go and count this particular item, this particular needle, I'm going to go and put in that I had 5 of these. And I'm going to count this particular elbow. I'm going to say I had, 47 of these. And this bearing roller, I'm going to say I have 9. So once I do my counts, I just click on my save button, and these rows will actually drop from this count page once I do my count. All right, the counts are updated. Those no longer need to be counted, so they move off of my count page, and they're now available in this reconcile page. So if I look at, here's the needle that I just counted, right? This reconcile page is interesting in that you can, this gives you a preview of what your current balance is for the inventory, plus the count that you just counted, and any transactions that happened after you did your physical count. And then it provides you also with a variance. So you can very easily, again sort by these columns, and it'll very easily give you kind of a quick understanding of if your counts match up, can you reconcile these items? You can sort by the variance. So this is off by 3. So these are the the high offenders. So you can look at these things first based on your sorting on the variance. So let me refresh the table here. So here's that needle valve I just counted 1. I mean, I just counted this earlier, right, in the previous steps, and I had put in 5. It says I have a balance of 4, so it says I actually have a variance of 1 more than my balance, which is, something I probably need to look at. If I want to accept that, I can click on that item and then click reconcile, and this will actually reconcile my balances for the rows that I count. So,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of functionality that we have in core, but it's in a much simpler view and easier to manage through the process in this particular UI.
Okay. Well, that's great. I'm going to go off script a little bit here. Configurations of the screen. I know that it's a blind count, which is an industry best practice for sure, but we have had a few clients that have asked if they could see their current balances as they're doing their counts. Are there configuration capabilities to the screen, or if there's another field that needs to be added, something along those lines, or is
Yeah,
that on the roadmap?
that's on the roadmap, definitely. What we want to do is be able to have it as an like a max var or an organization setting to allow you to either allow blind counts or don't allow blind counts, because as you said, we have customers that want to do either or, right?
Right.
So we want to give them the option to set it up how they want to do it. But yeah, that's definitely one thing that's on the roadmap. And you could do some, we don't have a configuration tool for the Managed Inventory Work Center yet, but you could do some changes through, HTML and JavaScript to remove those columns if you don't want them to be displayed to your user. So.
And also some configurations to the object structures and the queries to control what data shows up in each place, if there's some restrictions there.
Yes, there is. Yep. We have security restrictions on all these items, all the pages that are listed here. I'm sorry, the menu options, and then also the pages and the functions can all be controlled through your normal Maximo security permissions.
Great.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're getting short on time. I think the last piece we wanted to look at, and we actually have a question in the chat about it, is using a scanner. So what have we got? One of the questions we get all the time: can I use barcoding? Can I use QR codes? So this is getting into the native device, I think, a little bit. So how does the scanning work?
Yeah. So you'll notice in each of the screens we do have a scanning icon, and you can use this scanning icon to actually have a little video. If Alex, if you could start the video, and it'll show me on my device doing an actual scan.
Sure. Let me start that right now. Thomas, you might need to stop sharing your screen.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And we'll swap.
All right. Yep. I wanted to show you a little bit of the barcode scanning in the Managed Inventory Work Center. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as my storeroom clerk user, Fred. And once I'm into the Managed Inventory application, it's going to drop me on this reservation page, which I do have the barcode scanning in this reservation page, and also in picking and staging, and the other interfaces that or pages and screens that the storeroom clerk has access to. But to show you the barcode scanning, I'm going to go to the All Items tab, which is this bottom menu option. And here I'm presented with a list of 369 items, and I could scroll through each of these items, but say I want to find something specific, I have a barcode in front of me, so I'm going to just scan for that particular item. So to narrow my list down, I'm going to click on a barcode. It's going to open my camera, and I've got some barcodes over here on my other screen. I'm just going to zoom in on that code, and you can see I put the brackets around the code, it zoomed in, took a picture of the code, and passed that to my item ID field, and then filtered my list of records from 369 to 1, presenting me with that barcode or that item with the barcode item ID of 560-00. Let me show you one more time. I'm going to clear my list. I'm going to open up my camera again, And I'm going to go to this second barcode. Again, this is going to filter it down to that Bolt 125 item in my particular list. Just one more time to show you. Third time's the charm. I'm going to click on the item. And I'm going to scan for this bracket. Again, it shows me the bracket. Filters my list down as. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Alex. Yeah, so that's the barcode scanning. Like I said, it's in all those other pages that I shared earlier. So when you're creating your pick list, as you're moving things from pick to stage or issued, you can use that barcode icon to scan your item and grab that into your selection. So pretty much anywhere in that inventory work center where you're selecting a record, an item, a bin, an asset, you could scan using barcode. And there are a number of we use the device, and there are about 13 different barcodes that we can decode. We have a list of them out on our support site, but they're all 2D barcodes, and then we also can scan for QR codes as well. So.
Okay, that's great. We are just about out of time. I want to kind of scan through the questions. There's one here that is a little interesting. Yeah, we've got the pick, the stage, the issue capability. If I've got a separation of duties there for some reason, I've got a clerk maybe that's going through and picking and staging and somebody else that's going to do the issue. Can I stage materials and hand that off for somebody to come back into Classic Maximo, maybe an inventory usage or elsewhere, and do that issue? Or once you've started that transaction in the mobile, does it have to finish in the mobile? Same user, different user? Is there some opportunities there?
Yeah, right now, with the current functionality, you do have to, if you start the picking and staging in the picking and staging list, then you have to complete it in the picking and staging list. So in Core Maximo, you know, we're leveraging the inventory usage document. So if those items on the pick that are on a pick list in the inventory usage document, it'll have a flag that says it's part of a pick list, and basically it makes the inventory usage document read only at that time until the transactions are complete on the pick list in the work center.
Okay.
But in the future we do no, that's how it works in this release, but we have heard that as a requirement to open it up and give a little bit more flexibility. So it's something that we're looking at for the future.
Okay. Sounds like an opportunity for an implementer like Starboard to do some configurations for a client there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, we are out of time, actually a few minutes behind schedule with the delay getting started. So thanks everyone for joining us today. And thank you, Thomas. We really appreciate your input. Lots of good stuff coming, and we're happy to see that this one's finally been released.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Alex, back to you.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Thomas. Great presentation, a lot of information. And thank you all for joining us. Like Amy said, we look forward to seeing you for our next Work Center Coffee Chat series on March 2nd. We will be sending you a copy of the recording and hope you all have a great day. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Thomas. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.